just like that, it's time for our weekly roundup of all the things Lady just ain't gonna do this week. Number one, act like Will Smith is some kind of devil incarnate because he slapped the shit out of Chris Rock. Now, y'all know Lady was very vocal about this a couple of weeks ago, talking about the undue punishment that Will Smith was receiving as a result of his unfortunate slap of Chris Rock during this year's Oscar ceremonies, where Chris did an unfortunate and basically unnecessary joke about Jada's bald head. Now, remember how we called in an example of fuck around and find out? Well, not only did Chris Rock find out, but so did Will Smith. In the last 2 weeks or so, the consequences have been enormous and, frankly, extreme. Smith resigned his membership in the Academy as a way to hold himself accountable for his behavior. He also checked into a rehab center to get some support with his emotional well-being. And I mean, I'm going to let that story ride for now. And the Academy barred Smith from attending the Oscars for 10 years. Netflix and Sony have paused their projects with Smith, and even Netflix started removing some of his content from their platform. Now, riddle me this. I'm old enough to remember when Dave Chappelle was making transphobic jokes on his Netflix comedy special, and Netflix defended the shit out of him. Will Smith slaps somebody and gets more smoke than Dave Chappelle? Make it make sense. Well, I'll help. Y'all may not like this, but so be it. All these companies are owned and largely operated by white folks. That's a fact. Run the receipts. And the truth of the matter is, in this country, white folks have authority over violence. They get to authorize it and unauthorize it. When Dave Chappelle is being and literally encouraging violence against trans folks, they're okay with it because it's them making money and it's edgy. But when it comes to physical violence brought on by an emotional outburst, they want to be the ones who hold the moral high ground with respect to which types of violence are acceptable and by whom. I've seen so many white folk weigh in on this, oblivious to the obvious implications of uneven accountability and to whom. Now, the pearl clutching, the hand wringing, the aghastness, it's a lot for Lady. And it's hypocritical, and it's selective outrage, and it seems to come with the territory. Other things Lady just ain't gonna do this week is act like people aren't not doing well in this pandemic. Now, this week, New York had a rough one, as an active shooter shot at least 10 people in a Brooklyn subway. The shooter was at large for about 24 hours before being apprehended by police. But here's the thing. The shooter basically turned himself in. Apparently, he was pissed off about current Mayor Eric Adams' approach to homelessness and may have actually been homeless himself. Now, did I mention that the shooter was black? Okay. Now, here's what we really should take from this tragic incident. 1, there is most definitely, without a doubt, a crisis brewing that we are not talking about with respect to this pandemic, which seemingly has no end in sight. The combination of isolation, lack of resources, uncertainty about the future, and fear of the present is having widespread impact, not to mention the ridiculously lenient availability of guns. Yes, I know. There is a lot to be said here about the Second Amendment and people's right to bear arms, but let's be honest, we cannot deny that in a country that was predicated on violence, giving people the tools to carry out their fears, it's just not a good look. I mean, just ask the people who were terrorized in that subway. Whew. Other things Lady just ain't gonna do this week is keep killing Black people. Now, you may not have heard yet about this in the news, but yet another Black person was murdered by police this week in Michigan. 26-year-old Patrick Lyoya, an immigrant from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, was shot in the back of the head by police in Grand Rapids, Michigan, during a traffic stop. Lyoya was shot and killed while an officer sat on his back. He was pulled over for having mismatched plates. Now, I don't know why we have to keep saying this, and maybe it's because ain't nobody learned this yet, but running away from the police is not a reason to shoot and kill people, especially if they themselves are unarmed. Black people should be able to survive traffic stops We should be able to survive random encounters with police, whether it be in the daytime or at night. We should be able to survive encounters with police when we perform acts of heroism without being mistaken as the problem and being shot and killed as a result of it. Now, despite all of President Biden's rhetoric around funding the police, this is what funding the police creates and maintains. You are funding a paramilitary force to operate in our communities without any accountability, and that is unconscionable. There's a lot of rhetoric out there which is complete bullshit. It's April, and there have been 255 police killings this year alone. That's roughly a rate of something like every 3 days somebody is being killed by police. Black men are more likely to be killed by police and make up the majority of police killings each year. But by all means, let's keep talking about refunding the police. Get the fuck out of here with that. For real. We have not heard one iota of conversation from the president about accountability and consequences because he is pandering to voters that ain't finna vote for him anyway. According to the Black Census Project, Black voters want both. We want safety in our communities, and we want accountability when police officers commit crimes in our communities. And shooting someone in the back of the head as you're sitting on their back and they're unarmed should most certainly be considered a crime. All right, that was a tough one, my friends, but here is what we want more of this week. Number one, more Black women with progressive records as Supreme Court judges and everywhere else that decisions are being made. Now, we didn't even get to talk about this over the last 2 weeks because everything was fucking going crazy. But since we last had a weekly roundup, we done got the first Black woman ever to serve on the Supreme Court, and her name is Ketanji Brown Jackson. We love, 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 love to see it. Soon-to-be Justice Jackson was confirmed by the United States Senate last week and will take the bench soon. Black women belong everywhere decisions are being made. Other things Lady loves this week is trees, mountains, and organizer trainings. Now, I had the pleasure, and I do mean the pleasure, of conducting some organizing trainings with the Cascade Society, an organizing training and development program developed and created by my sis, Esperanza Turvalon Garrett, and her firm, Dancing Hearts Consulting. That's right. Lady took herself to the Pacific Northwest where, yes, it was snowing in April. Hope you get this reference, my friends. I got to train a group of brilliant young organizers on strategy, and we had a lot of fun together. Now, I forget sometimes how much I love training organizers, and I get to do so little of this part of the work I love. So, nestled amongst the trees and the elk and the snow, Lady has decided that it makes sense to lean into more of that joy. So, look out for some good stuff coming, and soon. A special shout out to my sis. I don't think I knew how much I needed that until I felt that cold mountain air in my lungs. More of that, please and thank you. It's been a hot minute since we downloaded a Ladies Love Notes section, but don't worry, we are back with a brand new installment. Now let's be honest, Lady's been busy. Between relocating across country to dealing with weird-ass attacks on Lady's character and integrity, we have not had much time for dating. However, Lady has been thinking, after a recent interaction, that this dating thing may be more difficult than she thought. And let's get specific here. Lady's been wondering if it's even possible to find someone to get to know that isn't enamored with what Lady does, but instead who Lady is. Now, don't get me wrong. I am really proud of the work I do in the world, and I'm very proud of what I've contributed to and what I've accomplished thus far. I do work every single day to change the world, and I would not change that for the world. And I'm meeting far too many people who are enamored with what I do and not who I am. They've already made up a story about it and me in their minds, and so Lady wonders, what is the attraction actually based on? Is it admiration, or are you actually interested in me, of which my work and what I do is a part, but not the only part? Case in point, that person I've been telling y'all about, he's got a hero worship thing. Meaning that one of the things that freezes him in place is that he's worried he's going to disappoint me because I'm one of his heroes. Fuck, it's so whack. I mean, obviously, that has nothing to do with me. Frankly, all it does is show me that maybe, just perhaps, you're into me if you really are into me for the wrong reasons. And of course, it's fine to admire someone, to think that they do good things in the world. But remember that pedestal shit I was talking about a few episodes back? That shit right there. Pedestals don't allow people to be real human beings that are flawed and complex. But pedestals also don't allow for people to name and be themselves. It's not just him, though. There was a woman who stepped to me not long ago. She was giving me a lot of fangirl energy. But as per usual, when I notice shit like this, I chastise myself for being too harsh. I spent some time talking to her, and she still gave me fangirl energy. It's so weird to know that people have built up a whole idea of you in their minds, and they spend a lot of time just trying to get you to confirm their idea of you. Isn't that time better spent trying to actually get to know a person? Also, she did the absolute no-no, which is to do too much. Too many texts, too much energy, regardless of whether or not it was being reciprocated. It was a lot. It was a lot. Then there's this other man I met. Dude was chill. We met at a group dinner put on by mutual friends. We had some good conversation as we were sitting across from each other at a group dinner, which almost mandates that you speak, unless you've got good conversationalists on your right or on your left. Now, we all know group dinners can be awkward, okay? But the conversation between us was light and it was easy. I tried to ask him a lot of questions because it's good to be interested rather than interesting. We exchanged numbers, ostensibly to follow up about some common interests. He left the dinner early, though he ended up making a comeback a bit later to come and hang out with the crew that kept going after dinner. He's smart. We have a similar sense of humor. He's divorced. I'm separated, or whatever you call breaking up with someone you've been with for, I don't know how long, since you were 20-something. And I couldn't tell if there was a vibe, but honestly, I'm second-guessing myself a lot these days, so that doesn't mean anything. When you've had your heart broken, you question a lot of your instincts and what you know. And Lord, am I not always in all the fucking questions about everything? I am super out of practice with all this dating stuff, and frankly, I have just about given up the ghost. It's a lot. I mean, the night was cool, we shared some laughs, followed up over text with more laughs, and that was it. That was probably about a month or so ago. Well, the other day, as I'm getting settled in my new place, I get a text from him that he is going to be where I am with his daughter. I'm happy to hear from him. I really did think he was chill. I responded that it would be dope to see them both. I don't have kids. I'm not even sure if I'm really a kids person, but I do know that people with kids don't want to not have their kids be acknowledged. So I felt like it was a reasonable response. We made plans to link, and over the course of the conversation, he mentions that not only will he be with his daughter, but apparently joining us on this meetup will also be his nieces. Yes, you heard me right. I said multiple people, not just one. Can I be honest here? I am terrified that this will be another example of how people want to be close to what I do, but don't really want to get to know me for me. Now, I could be extrapolating here, and I really hope I am, because frankly, this whole shit where people know about the work you do is really fucking with my love life. And I cannot help thinking, okay, with the exception of not having childcare, I don't really know you, so what would be the purpose of bringing your daughter and your nieces, unless you wanted to introduce her to me because of what I do? And I know maybe you're thinking, oh, you should be flattered, but I'm actually just tired. I never signed up to be a stop on the social justice field trip. I just thought that maybe somebody who I thought I connected with was interested in getting to know me better, was letting me know they were in town and maybe interested, and asking me if they could take me out for a meal. And that could very well still be the case, but it could also very well be the case that they'll be hitting the civil rights museums and then asking me what it's like to start a movement.